So the art of go, no go, this presentation was brought to us by Captain Mike Agliano from Seattle Fire Department. He regularly teaches across the country and speaks. We brought him out, I think in 2013 and 14 or 14 and 15.
13 and 14, I think.
And he spoke at our officer development program, and anybody in the department comes, so some of you might have come to that, I'm not sure. But he talks about the art of go, no go, and he gave us this distribution version, so it's kind of to give us that we could take this over to acting officer and present it to our department. And what we like to do with this is more or less give you something to make a decision by of like, okay, am I going or am I not going? Am I going inside? Am I offensive or am I defensive? So a lot of this will be put on you guys discussion wise, like what it'll generate questions, it'll generate thoughts of like what should I do here? And it goes into rescue profile, building profile, 3 different profiles that you can use to decide whether you need to go inside or not. So even starting with these 3 pictures, would you go inside any of them? Yes. Which ones? Okay. What would you do on the one on the left? What do you think? Let's just say that's
360.
That's obviously a garage. We'll just say it's a garage that's attached, and the house is off to the Bravo side of it. What would you do? Would you go through the house, the front door, before putting any water on it, come through the garage and put it out?
Well,
But
you go through the front door.
two and a half on the
If
garage, there's
if the
3/4
man
inside.
door's closed.
What's that?
Sorry, if the man door's closed on the garage, potentially the rest of the house, the part of the house may not be involved, and then you can push it out instead of pushing it back towards the rest of the house.
Okay.
Even though we don't push fire.
Sure. So you would go inside?
Depending upon where, what that main entrance looks like.
Okay. George, share what you were saying.
I think put a 2.5 on the garage and take 1 3/4 inside after you recon inside. Amy said.
Quick water on the fire, put a lot of fire out right there while you're going inside, because ultimately you got to get a line inside. You want to protect egress. There's a stairwell you want to get to. That one on the right side, do we have structure involved?
Hard to say, but you just when we got fire on the first floor, smoke billowing out pretty much every orifice at the top. So there's probably
On the
some
Bravo side.
Out of all the eaves, out of most likely that it's obviously in the walls spreading out, most likely, right? Could be balloon construction, which it could spread from. It could have started in the basement. But I would say you probably got some structure involved, just with the amount of smoke coming from the eaves. Yeah.
Which doesn't mean we don't go in, it just means we have very little time.
You got time, and what, not that reports are always reliable, but you have to take it into account. You see the family standing out front, and they keep telling you, we are all out. We are all out. Check with them a couple times, a couple minutes. Are you sure you're, if there's survivable space anywhere, we're going to try to get in there. One on the bottom, yeah, we got time. Newer construction home, probably. I guess it could, depending on where it's at. It looks like it could be newer construction. But you've already got a collapse in the roof. So where's your survivable space? First floor, some bedrooms. Where do you think our bedrooms are in this house? What's that?
Second floor.
Probably, yeah. Maybe like here. This type of window is what? What do you think? Stairwell. What do you think this is right here? Could it be a bedroom?
Kitchen,
Could be a bedroom. Could be like a den. So all that into play. Do we have to? Okay, we're offensive, but are we offensive on a search? More or less. Are we VESing instead of going through? Is search going inside? So now we do need to support them with a hose line. So go, no go. All right. What do you think's going on here? Should we go inside? So what do we think that roof looks like?
Through the roof, or is it up?
So like, what do you think it looks like? If there was no fire, what do you think? If you were to put a ladder up, what do you think that roof looks like? So it's already coming through the roof. Probably want to worry about parapet collapse. You're going to be operating. I know you've got probably like at least, I don't know how deep this is, but 1,000 square feet of involved on the second floor. You can see through the windows. That is maybe venting through the roof, or maybe that's the Charlie side. You just don't know. I mean, it looks like the roof, but maybe it's the Charlie side that's venting out the back.
Where do we have some of this? Colfax. So that fire at Dallas and Colfax was this. It was commercial on the bottom with apartments above the top. And we still have several buildings left along Colfax that are this taxpayer style, with the shop on the bottom and an apartment or a converted living space above the top. You're also going to see more and more of this in new construction. So this live, work, play community that you see in Stapleton and Lowry and everywhere else, you're going to start seeing those kind of developments going on in the city. So you'll see more and more of this simulated taxpayer type building with shops underneath and apartments above.
What other hazards are you seeing? Okay. How about those signs attached to the building? What about access?
Security.
So stuff for you to identify on a 360, if you can do it, you know, I don't know how long the strip mall is or this taxpayer is, but that's the benefit of maybe driving up and really paying attention as you come up, because you can see, you can probably get 3 sides in just from the cab. And you know you can assign a truck company when you get up there to, hey, let's soften the structure, we're going to need help.
When I see changes in size, what is potentially here that I can count on? Firewall. Hopefully a firewall. Hopefully it hasn't been punched through, but potentially have a firewall where now I'm going to burn this out and try to protect these sides.
You do have one business that's open.
Right. So how are you getting there? You know, is that open breezeway? Is there a way, or is it most likely it's going to be through that one of those entrances, and it's going to be up above that? Could be on the backside. Could be a stairwell on the backside. Who knows?
If I'm on Tower 6 or Tower 8, can I do a lot with that on this fire?
No.
I can fight a lot of fire transitionally with the tower ladder to knock this down while we're trying to figure out a way in there. Put a lot of fire out. Or my deck gun, this isn't that high. If you're up on top, especially one of the new engines now, you're almost as high as this anyway. I can knock some fire down to buy me some time.
So again, nobody's right or wrong right now, but who would go inside? You ever,
I'll be involved. I would go inside the businesses to the side of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Alpha, the
Yeah,
Delta,
check
the Bravo.
Check the
Delta
roof,
Food.
check the whole ceiling down.
Can't expect to put fire out from the outside, like I said, so at some point, yeah.
so if you're going in that second story, then you're going with the hose line. Put fire out. Anybody not going in and going defensive?
Go transitional.
Okay, so most everybody would try to transition and see what that does to the fire. Would anybody go defensive?
Depends on the back looks like, I guess.
Let's just say the back, there's nothing showing on the back. It's out the roof.
Nothing
I mean-
showing doesn't mean
It's not the
nothing
roof.
showing.
It's out the roof in the front and nothing in the back.
I think you have to
might be able make your
Prepare for defensive operations,
transition
like
from the
get a
back.
couple of trucks there and get a stick up and get a water supply to it. So you can put that roof fire out if you need to, but what do you guys think? You're ready
So I
to
mean,
go inside.
what you said right there, our accepted practices are set up for just that. So if you're unsure, you set your scene up, truck and engine in the front, truck and engine in the back, Charlie side. You can set your divisions up, and you can call for more resources depending on what you need. But if you set that up, then you're, like George said, if you do go defensive, and you've got an engine with truck Mary that you can use those aerials as attack from the exterior. But then you're also set to go offensive if you're going inside as well.
Is there anything wrong with going defensive on this? I mean, we're skirting the issue. Can I go defensive on this?
Yes.
Because what's gonna be left of this portion of the building when this is done with?
Tear it down.
They're gonna tear it down, they're gonna tear that section out. So, if I put 2 aerials up or an aerial up and I pound this thing and put it out and save this end of the block and this end of the block, is that okay? Yeah, I didn't hurt anybody. I'm gonna go in and probably check this quick just to make sure there's nobody living, working, or hanging out in there. And then I might get after it in a defensive mode. And once I get that thing knocked down, then look at, can this structure tolerate me going offensive to go in and mop this up? And maybe not. Maybe this whole thing just stays defensive and I burn this gut out, and they dig it out and rebuild it, start all over again. Because if it's not fire damage or smoke damage, I guarantee you, by the time we're done, it will be completely and totally water damage. And they will gut that out. It's just the way it is.
Okay, so what are some of the implications, Ryan? So what are some of the, I like to say, what are some of the consequences, good and bad, of going inside on something like that? Or just going inside in general?
Members in danger.
Life safety. Potential rescue.
So that's a positive, right? We can rescue people, but we're also putting ourselves in danger.
Get to the seat of the fire.
We can put the fire out, but we can also make it bigger. We can also be in the flow path. Anything else you can think of?
Get guys killed.
That's obviously given anytime we go inside. You just got to know. I mean, that's the oath we took, right? We're gonna risk a lot to save a lot. And if something like that, if there's daytime and there's people trapped, then yeah, that's gonna influence our decision too. Nighttime, nobody's in there. We might think a little bit differently. So go, no go is what Captain Gagnon developed for a critical decision-making model. He goes through 3 profiles: rescue, building, and fire. And so start with rescue, what are we saving? And then you move on to building, what conditions exist to enable our action. So if we decide we're going inside, does the building even allow it? And the fire, what's the fire and smoke doing? And what's it going to do? So like George pointed out, well, I'm not going to be in that main unit, I'm going to be in the Bravo and Delta exposures. So that's that fire profile. So it's a framework. It's nothing that we really mention in our accepted practices, but it's something for you to work through to be like, okay, do I go offensive or am I defensive? And transitional is part of that as well. So what are we trying to save? I mean, this is basic. This goes back to academy, right?
Right, probably.
Yep. So life and property. You know, how much are we, this is a question for everybody, how much are you willing to risk to save somebody's house if nobody's inside?
Very little.
Some people, I mean, there's some people that do have conversations and, you know, it's a different perspective, but they believe, you know, getting inside and saving people's belongings is worth a big risk. Does anybody in here believe that? It's okay if you do. I mean, we've had very productive discussions on that.
I wouldn't say it's worth a big risk,
Yeah.
but there's a level of risk. I mean,
Calculated risk.
it's part of our, you know, life safety, property conservation.
So, good point. And like I said, small calculated risk. If you're the officer and you've got 3 people that are reporting to you, you know, you're in charge that day, and you know, that request comes to you of, hey, I want, this is an heirloom. It's, you know, it's in the fire room. We really want to get in there and get it. How much of a priority is that to you?
In the fire room?
I mean, just, it's in the house. You know, you see, it's a risk to go in there. Is it a risk
If
worth
we're
taking
going
it
in
all?
anyways, it shouldn't be a thought in our mind. I mean, we're gonna go in and do what we need to do regardless of the heirloom. That's why we have insurance. That's, you know, at the end of the day, we need to go home to our families.
I think it goes back to risk a lot to save a lot, risk a little to save little. If it's confirmed that nobody's still in the structure, I mean,
We're gonna still do what we do. What we're
Yeah, but I
trying to
wouldn't
do
wanna-
is get the fire out.
It just depends on the risk.
Yeah.
So what is,
What's the
what is,
level of
you know,
Yeah.
is the ceiling like sagging, imminent collapse? Or is it, you know, I don't know. Who knows? Just depends.
Yeah, and I think if you, like Jared said, if you just keep that in your head, the same old kind of rubric we use to grade, risk a lot to save a lot. Risk a little, save a little. That's what you have to come down to. If there's nobody inside there, I mean, this is me speaking. I can agree with it or not, but I mean, my game plan changes as far as how aggressive I'm going to be when you have to make those tough decisions, when it's confirmed nobody's inside. And that might not be when you get on scene, that might be when you get a primary search done. So you're still offensive, you're still aggressive, and then when primary search is negative and you don't have any reports of anybody trapped inside, then now that changes kind of how you filter your decisions and whether you're going to risk something to do that, whether you need to employ a tactic here to put the fire out. Are you going to do it if there's somebody still inside? Maybe. Now that we have primary search and there's people are confirmed out, that might change your thought process.
Now, if there are babies in the heirloom,
Nice. Like that picture. Who is that guy?
That's that guy.
Yeah.
T3 or something?
Yeah, that's Kevin Shea with FDNY. Hope on a Rope. They still do that to this day. So they get somebody trapped above the fire. They will put a team to the roof, and the guys are holding on to the rope on the roof. One guy goes over, and they pull him back up to the roof, and they find every way off. So what are you willing to risk to save a life? Are you willing to trust your brothers and sisters to hang on a rope 40 stories up to save somebody's life? That's why you train. That's exactly right. Because that doesn't happen just then. That doesn't happen, hey, let's go throw a rope off the edge of the roof. That happens because they do it 50 times a year practice. And everybody's all in. So part of risking a lot to save a lot means everybody on the crew is prepared. And that's going to go into your decision-making process as well. So who do you have on your crew? How prepared are they? What can they handle? If you put them in a situation and you're not able to watch them, oversee them, are they going to do what's right? Are they able to pay attention? Are they going to get overwhelmed? Some cues. So are there survivable spaces? When we talk about survivable space, I mean, it could be a room filled with smoke, but is their victim 1 foot off the floor and the smoke was only this high? Or bank that far down? Well, yeah, then that's a survivable space. So that's why search is super important. I personally feel that we probably don't talk and teach it even in the academy. I mean, we talk about it, but we don't put enough value on how important search is. I don't think that's a fault. It's just we're working on a lot of things, but search is super important. And we pull hose, yeah, that's good, and we do practice throwing ladders and all that, but how many times are you searching, and what are you searching with? You're searching with big dummies, or are you searching with babies? Because Chief and I were on a fire where we went through a primary, secondary, and finally we just had to sift through stuff to find a baby. So that's what I search now, is I search for babies. If I can find a baby, I can find a 180-pound victim.
But yet we miss them.
Still missing.
Yet we still miss them. So how do we get good at aggressive, meaningful search? It's not a checkbox, just like your 360. Your 360 is not a checkbox. How do you make it meaningful? How do you make these things meaningful?
Is there survivable space in that? let's just say that's, assume what you see, that's the whole house. Flashover conditions, floor to ceiling, so yeah, you're defensive, nothing survivable. Set up for defensive operations, recognize it, still do your 360. So no survivable space should mean what, go or no go? A reasonable suspicion or confirmation of savable victims. So everybody knows the cues, right, for are people inside, cars in the driveway, the time of day, which really doesn't mean Aurora anymore, but cars in the driveway, are there toys and stuff out front, is there a door open? So yeah, there might be people inside. You hear people. But how reliable are the reports from those on scene? My baby's inside, does that, we all know that doesn't always mean a real baby. That means a cat. And the cat probably got out, after it tipped over the candle. So,
Well, like Tom was talking about that fire, we were told that unit was clear. Grandma told us over and over, everybody's out, everybody's out. Mom showed up and went, where's the baby? And Grandma went, baby's still in bed.
Was I babysitting today?
Yes. Grandma was,
she was delusional. She was smoke inhalation and sitting on the stairs. So, take that into account when you're hearing that. I mean, it's just all these little cues, and you're trying to do a 360, and you're trying to communicate tactics and take command. Are you recognizing that she's kind of out of it, or are you just hearing the words? It's totally understandable to hear the words, but oh yeah, everybody's out.
it's not the only time. I've had people tell us they're clear. We go into primary, and they find somebody asleep inside the unit, inside the house. But everybody swore nobody was home, nobody was there. And then we drug somebody out.
So visible rescues, reports, maybe reliable or not, time of day, cars on the driveway. So no savable victims, no confirmed savable victims, go or no go. That's in the house, right? Still safe property. Let's just say on that one of those floor to ceiling flashover, go or no go. So one thing that is going to also determine whether we can go or no go is, do we have people on scene to make it happen? 2 in, 2 out. Do we have visible rescues from the exterior that we can get to? Are we 3 persons showing up and we know there's a victim inside? How far are resources out? What are we doing? That's all I can say on that is that's just a decision you got to make with yourself. You show up on scene and there's somebody that may die before the next driving rig gets here if you wait to deploy tactics. That's up to you. Now that's that gray area. That's the gray area of being an officer or even a firefighter making decisions. That's the gray area.
You roll out to 12s, 13s, or 15s, the crew should be dialed on ladder throws and VES. You go, well, that's a truck skill, right? How long is it going to take before I get a truck? If I'm at 15s or 12s, how long does it take before I get a truck? Can I wait that long to search, to VES? Those are the crews that should be the most dialed in on pulling hose and throwing ladders and VESing, because how long is it going to be before you get a truck coming? A long time.
So some considerations. Where is the savable area? Can we access it? I mean, is it 3rd story? Do we have a ladder to get there? Where's the fire coming from? How far out are resources? And then, how much is it going to grow by the time you get in there? Is it more beneficial to put water on the fire first and go after the rescue? Or is it let's let the fire grow and let's remove them out of harm's way? It's that whole thing of, like Wentworth, we had victims who we were taking off of balconies, but they were nowhere near the fire. And we had resources at the time where we took pictures, so it worked out then. But you're gonna have to decide if you're the first crew. All right, the fire is nowhere near them, and I got a fire here. Do I waste time when I can just tell them to close their door and stay on the balcony and they're unaffected to put out the fire? Or do I have to let the fire grow to go back? Because you might start rescuing everybody. You have to weigh that with the amount of resources we have. Last one, or second one, so building profile. What conditions exist? So the type of building, how much time we have, that's what's going to determine. Yeah, I mean, it's only a matter of time before that floor goes, right? And then who's operating on the outside? I mean, there's really no overhang there, but it collapses out. The vent guys there, you just, even though there's not an overhang above you, you're still in the collapse zone if the building's taller than you. Is it going to fail? And when will it fail? And of course, where? How? So it looks like a big warehouse fire. What are some of the hazards you see when you pull up right now?
If that means calling extra resources quickly, do it, because it's taking longer and longer to get them. They're coming from farther and farther away. And we keep beating it into our heads that I know I can do it with 2-2. I know I can do it. What happens when you can't? Now you got 2 working house fires. Amy.
Chief, I remember when you were battalion chiefing, anytime on a structure fire, you immediately added another engine just to the response. Is that something as the first due officer that you can do, as just knowing maybe the area or based on reports?
I would tell you yes. I would have conversations with your battalion chief. Hopefully, it seems like now, if you listen to people, that when it's a 2-2 response, it's that. When it's a 4-2 response, it's a melted spatula on the stove top. If you're getting a 2-2 and you believe, based on reports, notes, or the header that you see, that you need more, then ask for that 3rd engine. I always want, or start extra resources if you know it's far away. Single families, I usually like to get on scene, but I always start at a 3rd engine. Hopefully now you're either getting a 3-2 or a 4-2. Don't wave them off until you know what you've got. Even with a 4-2, don't wave anybody off until you know what you got. Investigate it. But if you're getting a 2-2 and you have a belief you've got a working structure fire, at the very least, try to add on a 3rd engine.
Is there a way to split level 1 and level 2 staging? Like if you want your first due rigs to level 1 stage and your second due to level
That's how it's set up.
So actually, level
Second alarm.
2 staging is 2nd alarm rigs. So we have some confusion in the organization that we're trying to work on. Level 1 is a 1st alarm assignment. Level 2 is a 2nd alarm assignment. So level 1 staging is your 1st alarm rigs come into the scene, 1st engine, 1st truck to the and chief to the front. Everybody else stages in a position that's advantageous to either provide water or to get a good spot once assignments are given out. So we have some confusion we're trying to work through, and the battalion chiefs are trying to work through them to bring clarity, but really level 2 staging has to do with a 2nd alarm assignment. So 2nd alarm rigs level 2. Level 1 is your 1st alarm assignment and should be 1st engine, truck, chief to the front. Everybody else stages in a place that is advantageous to move once assignments are given, which means a water supply. If you're the 2nd new truck a block away, because I may send you to the back, which means you've got to cut around and go down an alley or get around the building, around the strip mall. And I don't want you to commit where you end up getting pinned in by a water supply. So we're trying to work on that and make sure that we have a good understanding department-wide of what level 1 looks like.
Commercial and high-rise Wednesday, and so we'll talk more about that because you're gonna get level 2 staging on a high-rise. It's almost guaranteed. And some commercial fires always go to 2nd alarm, and we'll talk about What if you're part of that second alarm and you're the first? Really, the biggest part of level 2 staging is that first arriving officer on the second alarm to set things up for level 2 staging. Switching to attack channel, tracking your resources. But we'll touch on that. But that's the biggest thing. I think hopefully you'll answer all your questions about level 2 staging, what the responsibilities are. But I mean, that's away from the scene, waiting to deploy for assignments, working through more or less a staging area manager. Okay. So you got to weigh exposure risks, exterior knockdown versus going right in, what's savable, what's not. You throw a ladder and get them, do you have the resources? What's the smoke showing you? There's a really good smoke reading class that you can get for free off of FDIC's website, Dave Dodge. He's a retired chief. He was actually a chief of the mountains here in Colorado. Really good smoke reading class. I think it goes maybe like an hour, hour and a half. But all kinds of examples he shows. But there's some value in being able to read smoke. And obviously, we know that dark, chugging smoke, something's burned inside, it can light off a lot easier than that light brownish kind of, they like to label like wispy smoke. What's burning? What does Class A and wood look like when the smoke's burning? What does petroleum products look like when the smoke's coming off? How much of it is? How fast it's moving? How thick is it? The color. But if you look that up on the FDIC, if you just search by FDIC webcast smoke reading, that's a good one. It's a good one for the crew. So there they are: rescue profile, building profile, and fire profile. Get you to a point where you can say, okay, go or no go, offensive or defensive. Let me get to.
Start in the garage.
Started with the basement.
What do you think?
Start in the garage.
Backside is probably what?
Clear.
Walk out. Okay.
It's hot enough to get the other siding on the neighbor's house melted.
Right. So based on that, let's just say that's what you got showing from the front. You got smoke from the eave. You can see it on the Bravo side. It's probably from the back side as well. You go and you got it. Let's just start with rescue profile. Is there survivable space?
Yes,
Yeah. Your building profile. Is it in the structure? Yes. Part of the structure, right? The porch and above the garage. Living space above the garage. Okay, but not all of it. We said there's survivable space. All right, then your fire profile. Let me see, where is it going to go? We address the exposure.
It's already outside, so we're mostly concerned with the attic.
Okay.
Looks like there's already some attic involved in just because you haven't come out of the eaves on the Bravo side.
Okay. So are you offensive on this? Defensive, transitional?
Transitional initially.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the good 360 on this might show, that kitchen's on the back side, right? You know that from this type of house. It's going to be on the back side of the house, most likely. So is it, going out a sliding glass door on the back side? That's what you want to know. Put a lot of fire out right there with the transitional line. Whether you choose to move in with that same line or deploy a second line, that's a decision you have to make. That's what you have to train for. So I think so, sure.
You got a lot of space. You got a full basement with access, living room. What are these? The 2 bedrooms, so probably the 2 smaller bedrooms. Your master's probably sitting over the garage. So there's a lot of spaces that you could get into and search for.
Probably.
there's people home?
It's nighttime,
Potentially.
single probably,
It could have been.
so the rescue profile. Bedrooms are pretty small.
Yeah, it looks like probably finished attic space above right at one time. Maybe this is an older home. Attic space that's finished into a bedroom, so those used to be bedrooms, or they could be some sort of a family room upstairs. But you got a fully involved first level and second level.
And
Is there survivable space in there at all?
Unless there's
not on the
space
second
everywhere.
floor.
Not from what we can see. Any of this angle, there's really not, right? All right. So let's just pretend it's older construction, looks like it. What's the building profile look like? Are you close to collapse?
See the roof's close to it.
Yeah, you got it coming out the roof. One whole side, the Bravo side is completely engulfed. Siding's melting on the front. So you're pretty close. So offensive or defensive on this? Oh, looking at this computer, a lot different than that. It's a little bit brighter. It's a better picture, but. Maybe I should type in residential house better. All right. See the hazards right off the bat, right? Get used to identifying where the lines are, what the lines are. Big difference, obviously, if cable's down, then actually a high power wire, right? And try to identify what a phone line looks like compared to an actual electrical line. And it may not even be an issue, right? So as higher we go up on the pole, remember, you have more power, higher voltage. Cable and telephone's gonna be lower.
House is right up front by the door.
Yep.
We have a couple of these in North Aurora. What does it mean when your windows line up?
Balloon frame.
Balloon frame, we actually have some in one's area. So you get a fire started down low and it's gonna run immediately to the attic. You're gonna think you got a working first floor fire or basement fire, and all of a sudden you got fire above you in the attic. You're wondering why. And that's a telltale sign that you've got balloon frame, is these windows are sitting in that space that runs both stories. So there's something to be aware of. There are a few of them up north.
Let's just say that alpha side window above that porch is the only thing showing fire on your 360. Go inside or transition?
Transition.
I think both options are good. I mean, it depends on how quickly you get inside. But if I saw that, I would say, okay, I expect the stairwell to kind of be really close to that entrance, and that bedroom to be at the top. You know, the stairwell, the entrance, the center, and you got the bedrooms around it. You go inside. You know, that's another thing. Like those of you that are engineers, I talk to my engineer and I say, you know, we might go fast attack on something, and then you're my eyes on the outside. You know, what happens if now it comes out of a second window or starts exposing the attic? Well, my engineer can pull a line and he can transition. He can put water on it. He knows. He knows what the fire can start. He just has to communicate that. If you're exposing the attic now, I'm pulling a second transitional line and putting water on it. If you practice that, then you can play that way. But it's a definite go, right? I mean, we've got plenty of survivable space in there. Older construction, should be able to take it. Doesn't look like it's in the structure yet. You got some smoke from the eaves. But fires looks like at this point room contents, just auto exposing to the eaves from a vented window.
Where's your staircase?
You guys buried it in the window.
So a window halfway in between the floors is an indication that you've got a transition on a staircase there. The construction of these places will tell you a ton. 360s are not check boxes. So the one thing we did that in-service with the officers a couple years ago at RMFA, and here's what you see from the officers. Talking on their radio, walking around, and they walked past victims hanging out windows and indications of fire, because all you see is them walking around the structure, taking their lap with their head down, talking on the radio. They weren't looking high, they weren't looking low. They were missing tons of information. It's not a checkbox. Make sure you take in all the information when you're doing your 360. Building will tell you a ton.
So real similar to the last one, right?
Probably a better
Would you
candidate.
transition that?
Transition, yeah.
I would. You could go inside though, too, and I think you'd still be successful.
You said you wouldn't translate?
I would. Yeah. I mean, it's exposing that attic. It just depends on how long it takes me to get inside. I mean, is that first floor clear of smoke? Can I navigate to the stairs real quickly, or is it charged with smoke? How long is it going to take me to get through the first floor, up the stairs, and actually reach to see the fires? Is it going to take me a couple minutes, or is it going to take me like 30 seconds? But you're already getting into the attic. Resetting that fire would be good. Thing is, you got to think about two lines at one time is very doable. It's very easy. Just think about what's going on. I mean, a building like that, easy to pull a bumper line. That person does not need to go on here. They just need to pull a call for water and apply water. While another person can set up at the front door, get on air, and he's ready to go. Be training, at least with your 1 3/4, to deploy the hose line and apply water, especially if it's exterior. It should be a one-person job. You should be able to get an 1 3/4 to the Charlie side by yourself. And your benefit is if you got an engineer to put a bed for you, that's fine. But one person can set up while the other person is applying water, so you're resetting the fire while you're still doing the same amount of work. And when you're both ready to go inside, either another crew's there, you can take that line in, you got that officer going in, you can do fire attack, or your transitional line comes off, gets on air, and goes in. So fire profile on this, you know it's spreading, but a lot of water, put a lot of fire out. It's going to be important to coordinate some ventilation on this if you decide to vertically ventilate. Can you get to it from the underside? Maybe. Steep roof might be venting from an aerial. Just all things to consider. Definitely survivable space inside. Do we have a basement? Yeah. I mean, anytime you see that house elevated off the ground, you almost always have a basement. You got stairs going up to a porch, probably have a basement. So it doesn't maybe look as intimidating as the last one because you don't have fire showing. But you got a lot of smoke coming. You don't know where the fire's at. At least on the last one, think about that. The fire is showing itself, and okay, I know where it's at. I know where to put water if I have to. This is where it gets tricky. This is where the 360 becomes critically important. This is where you have to be really good about placing the hose line in the right spot. Get in there with a tick, pull sealing, you need to control your doors. But we're going inside on this. Smoke on the upper level. So look at this building, this house. What do you think this is right here? The areas maybe? Yeah. Could be open, right? Exactly. I mean, you could throw a lab at that and say, hey, let's. I mean, that's where you want to be careful. You could BS, and do more. And then you look down and like, oh shit. You have to edit that out, right?
I'm not editing.
Oh, maybe I'll edit it. What do we think is here?
Dining room, all the.
Yep. And then we're looking at bedrooms over here, probably another bedroom over there. So multiple points of entry to perform rescue if we need to. Find your entry spots for hose lines. On this, probably just gonna have alpha and Charlie, unless you take something up a ladder. Just depends.
Make sure you get a good 360 on a new house like this. Why do I have an attic fire? And what are the chances you had an electrical short in an attic that caused an attic fire? So if it's a day like this where you know there was no light, why do I have an attic fire? Did I have a room fire that got out the window and up in the attic? Did I have a porch fire that ran the back of the building and was up in the attic? Why do I have an attic fire? That's why you make sure you get a good 360 to figure out the why.
So probably started as what?
Garage.
Yeah, and now it's gone. Something, I mean, look at the type of smoke coming off, even though you got the cars around, but there's probably another car in there or something. Shingles are on fire, that's creating a lot of black smoke. So where do you start attacking that?
Maybe 2.5 inch to the garage, and then take an 1 3/4 to the inside of the wall.
Yeah, I mean, this is one where you're gonna go inside and you're gonna be paying attention to conditions above you. Now, that's kind of gonna be your thing. Like, again, it's that step back to the globe view. Okay, we're going inside, I see this, I need to find out where it is above me. As soon as I go in, I need to punch a hole in the ceiling. Is it there? Okay, as we go, is it here? Is it there? Big ranch, probably big vaulted ceilings with the roof. I don't think there's a second floor at all. It might be on the backside. Again, important for a 360, right? Could be a ranch. You could go to the backside and there could be dormers, and just the backside is living area. But
Those are tricky because one of our engineers had a house that looks like this. There's bonus space over the garage, which you really can't tell from the outside. And then there's 2 dormers that go to nowhere. So if you went in through those thinking there's bonus space up there, you're gonna drop into an attic space and then all the way through the ceiling into the house.
So that's your Charlie side right there. Let's just say it is. So that's how valuable a 360 can be.
Transitional inside.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, maybe you have the resource. I don't know. Maybe that's a long stretch. Maybe there's a fence. Maybe there's no access to get back there. Okay, then now we got it. We got to go through main entrance down the hallway. Maybe you can radio another end. Hey, I need another engine. Third engine or whoever you call it to go to this Charlie side from another access point and just put them on transition on the tank water. They can get their water supply. That's a possibility. But tons of survivable space, but it's getting into the attic and there's people inside. There's people sleeping. You know, an old building like this, I mean, how many buildings, there are local fire alarms or they don't go off?
So just out of curiosity, real quick on this one, you got the entry point there with the green, is that your alpha side, and then this is your Bravo side?
So what if this is the alpha side, what are you calling this building? If you pull up in front, this is the front, and you see this, what am I calling this building?
It's just a apartment.
Two-story.
Two-story multifamily.
Because from here, it looks like two-story with a garden level.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
This is garden level. This is a two-story with a garden level. If you come at it from this side with the entry points, it's a three-story. If I come in on this side, I'm gonna go, it's a three-story with the garden level. The garden level is Division 1. That's how I'm gonna title it. That doesn't mean everybody will, but that's how I would. Because we have a lot of garden level ones with those kind of half or sunk windows. And I just designated Division then. Or the lowest level would be the first floor Division 1. So because then you hear people up, they think they're on Division 2 and they're on Division 3. They just don't know where they are. So you at least have to designate this out of what's going to be Division 1. So people know, because we're all on the same page.
So rescue profiles ago, your building profile, older construction, right? Might have a common attic, so that's something that you want to send a truck to see, or if you get on the third floor, someone see if it's divided at all, if any fire stops. And then your fire profile, it was room and contents, probably one apartment or one bedroom within the apartment. But now it's auto exposing the eaves. And it might be in the attic. Still a go, still a lot to save there. But just follow your instant priorities, right? You want to get everybody out, you want to save lives, and that's going to be a coordination of search and suppression. Suppression is going to involve ventilation, it's going to involve attacking fire hose, water on the fire. So it's definitely a go. You're going to be okay with a single alarm response to this?
Act as a cycle.
I mean, I would argue and side with people, yeah. It depends on who's you're coming with, you know, what stuff they can get done. But realistically, go back to what Chief said. Once you get to the point where everybody goes on amber, which is going to happen on a fire like this, you're going to need people, regardless. You're going to need people for secondary search. You're going to need people for overall. Just to get the resources up to a third floor is going to take a lot. So it might be nothing that you have to call. You know, you can size up, you can set up everybody initially, and then hopefully whoever relieves you will say, okay, let's start a second alarm, level 2 staging, or a third engine, whatever it is. Looks like, is this London?
Yep.
Yeah, it is, huh? I remember us watching this scene at the station. There's nothing there, and it went inside. You know, obviously you only see one side of it, but that looks pretty gone, but still people were surviving inside and they put the fire on.
They fought that thing floor by floor. They worked their way through it.
That would be an IC's worst nightmare. How many people were inside it? I mean, weren't they have 60 to 70 people inside?
Well, at least.
Yeah. But you still had, I haven't read up too much on it, but I thought I remember reading You still have people inside that need to be rescued. So that changes everything.
I think they had 60 engine companies on this.
So what looks like a no-go, it all of a sudden changes when you've got people inside that are confirmed that need to be rescued. Just like the World Trade Center. Thing is we do it all over again. If we knew it was going to collapse, but there's people inside that can't get out, that's kind of what we signed up for.
Well, the Peoria fire is an example. A simple room and content fire is usually held to the unit, or if it has sprinklers, it is held in check by the sprinklers. But how many arson set fires that are accelerated do we have in the city? And the suppression systems were never meant to deal with an accelerated fire. That's why they get away from this. You look at the Peoria fire, you look at the warehouse fire, you look at any of those. When you add accelerant, you're gonna overrun the sprinkler system. So we talked about Gaylord and how long it's gonna take to set up on Gaylord. They said, well, it's got sprinklers. And I said, great, until somebody gets pissed off and lights a fire with accelerant and it outruns the suppression system. Then what happens? That place is massive. The hotel is 1.5 million square feet. There are hose stretches that are upwards of 400 feet from the closest standpipe. It's a lot of 2.5 when your second due is 12 minutes away if in quarters.
Style crews out there, right?
Should be. It should be. You should be great at public relations, and you should be amazing at stretching 2.5.
All right, so just off the top of your first thing you're thinking, let's say you pull up on this. Let's just say you're sizing it up. What's going through your head?
3-story fire.
Second alarm. I mean, that's not to say that my thinking is the only thing. That's what I'm thinking. I pull up on this and I've got no reports that's saying multiple floors on fire. Yeah, that's second alarm. I got people on. I need crews on all 3 floors, but definitely 2 floors and an attic. You can determine a strategy that you need to go in and then call the necessary resources as an actor, you're going to be in a good spot and do your 360. I think that the organization should support the actor, meaning that if one of you guys get on scene and you're an actor, I take that into account. Like, I understand, like, I help you, we have to help you guys. Okay, what have you done? Have you done this, done that? Set up the initial scene, do what you can, and then, we got to get you back with your crew. So just think about that when you start doing size up. So on the week where you start practicing and you go back, because even though you're in the first day of the class, still go back on. Would we transition this? We could. I mean, seen it done on some videos, and I think we might have done one. Seen it done with a deck gun one time, but there's some things you have to consider with that. Where are people? Are the people still in there? Do you have a water supply? So those are all things that talk about and train on and really create that slideshow for yourself. How can we transition this? Do we need 2.5? Do we need 3/4? Don't use a deck gun. Don't use a blitz fire.
Deck. I'm getting after that with big water on a transition.
You say deck gun?
Deck gun or 2.5.
I was, yeah.
Because you can pull the 2.5 and work that with 2.5, stretch, line up that staircase, and when they get up in position, shut down and follow them in as a backup line or a second line. I'm probably pulling 2.5, but you should be aware of all the tools in your toolbox, especially if you laid in and you know you got water.
I
or you
think-
know you got water close. It's when you don't have water.
Yeah, you have to be able to catch the hydrant on your way in.
Right.
Because we on scene, we don't have a hydrant. My officer says he's pulling 2.5. I said, you're not flowing it until we have a hydrant.
Right.
And that squats on the transitional tap thing.
Well,
Unless you pull 1 3/4
it doesn't take long before the water's gone, either with the deck gun or the 2.5. It's quick. And then you, as the acting officer, are you spotting a good hydrant? Because if I pick the wrong hydrant, lay in, charge it, and now I can't get any other equipment in there, we're in trouble too.
I feel like if you're on your way and you've got a good plume of smoke, it's a pretty good indicator that you're gonna need a lot of water.
How
So
many
you might
water
as well just
supplies
lay
should we
in.
have on something like that? Two. Should have two. You should have 2 engines that have water supply. So if you're the second engine, you should be thinking about the water supply too.
Double press that.
Stop it. Stop. Then you're gonna talk about reversing out. Stop that. It's crazy talk.
You just call like one alarm at a time, because that fire, the picture you had shown, I mean, that was the Wentworth fire. We had,
Yep,
we
exactly.
had heavy fire on all 3 floors.
So remember your second alarm, no matter what if you got a 4 and 2 on the first or a 2 and 2 on the first, your second alarm is 2 and 1, then 2 and 1, and then 2.
So would you ever call like the second alarm plus however many more engines that you need?
Yeah, so you could say, and there are, let's say you have an incident, let's say it's a wildland, they just had that wildland. I can call a second alarm or I can go, look, I need 4 engines. I don't really need the ladder trucks, but I need 4 engines.
Because I think that was our biggest issue on that fire. We had so much fire in every single floor that we just needed so many engine companies there.
And you can say, I need a second and third alarm, knowing you're only getting a 2 and 1.
Okay.
The way our high-rise policy sits now, I've gone through that just at 11s with Martin. Just take Martin Tower, you take University, whatever. If, you had a confirmed fire on an upper floor, yeah, I'm gonna call second and third.
Okay.
Well, we're looking at switching to NFPA compliance, which is 43 people on the first alarm, which is 7 engines, 3 trucks, 2 chiefs, a med 2, and 2 ambulances to fill out the first. Right. On the first, that's on the first alarm. So you think about that, but you need that. You need those, we needed that many resources on Heller Gardens, and that technically didn't meet high-rise criteria. Technically. We needed that many people. You will work that many people, and that's really not having anybody in the on-deck circle sitting on the bench waiting to go to work. That's just initial assignments on a high-rise, 43 people. You're right, so your issue is calling the second, it's not where does the second come from. That's one of the chiefs or the dispatcher to figure out. Yours is to call for the resources, and it's somebody else's problem to figure out where they come from.
All right, last one. But think about what could you find on 360 that might provide some survivable space? Basement. But just think about that. That could just be the front side on back. Could be a detached garage. Who knows? Detached living area above the garage. We'll just investigate everything. Remember, you can give initial size up and then go into investigation mode. And then you can do, okay, are we going offensive, defensive, am I taking command, what are we doing? You've got time. Even though it's hard when you first start acting, you do have time. Just gotta practice it. So that fire profile, I mean, that's fully involved. The rescue profile, there's no survival space. And you're building, fully involved fire, you're building, it's in the structure. How much time do you have? Not much. So set up for defensive operations. It's a no-go. So any questions? Yeah, it's just a decision-making tool. don't have to go through it, but it's just another way to evaluate, what's important. Start with rescue. That's the most important thing. Any questions on anything else? Came up throughout the day? About the process about enacting stuff.
What would you focus on for NIMS?
So I sent Erin an email that she can forward to you guys.
Supported.
Forwarded. There you go. And it lists the chart. It shows, as far as it'll help you, I think, better prepare you for the test if it's the same test. Because it focuses on the terminology and the placement of everybody. So, branch directors, section chiefs, division supervisors, everybody's got task unit leaders, okay? And there's a link to how every, label, what label they're given in every part of it. Who can report to the IC and where the staging area reports. If you focus on that, it gives you a good grasp on how ICS works. We do pretty much follow that. I mean, we obviously don't institute FLOP, finance, logistics, operations, and planning, but we do divisions. That's where division and groups is where, if you're going out in the street, that's what I would do.
Divisions are huge. We love to talk. I don't know if you've noticed, if you listen to the radio at all. Y'all love to talk, almost as much as I do. If you can put people in divisions, so especially on multifamilies, and you send an engine and truck to the second floor to investigate, engine 8, your division 2, you have truck 8 with you. If you send people to the third floor, engine 11, tower 6, you're going to the third floor, tower 6.1, your division 3. In theory, you should now only be talking to the 2 division officers, and that's it. They should be face-to-facing each other, and you should only be interacting with the 2 division officers, and that's it. Which, in theory, should cut way down on the radio traffic and bring some organization to the whole situation.